Hi guys, in previous sections, we have dealt with some theoretical background related to critical thinking. In this section, I will introduce to you some practical activities to integrate critical thinking in language classrooms as proposed by John Hughes in 2014. The first suggested activity which can be done in post-listening or post-reading stage after students are introduced to an idea or recommendation. It is called opinion and reason generator. This aims at developing the skill of supporting a viewpoint with reasons. This can be done with some language structure to practice expressing opinion with the conjunction, for example, because. Teachers write some sentences on the board, and here is an example. I think that, or I don't agree that social media side wastes our time because. Then students work in pairs and have to generate opinion followed by reason. They can create their own sentences by combining any of the opinion expressions with the topic, and then using because. They have to provide a supporting reason. For example, I think that politicians are underpaid because people like bankers and rock stars earn more money, but they have less responsibility. I'm not sure that travel broadens the mind because I have met some people who come back from other countries and they criticize everything about it. The second activity that I think is quite motivating is recognizing context. This aims at developing the skill of seeing things from another point of view. This simple activity will raise student awareness of how the setting of an image or text can alter our perception or interpretation of something. The first step of this activity belongs to the teacher. The teacher chooses an interesting image and can be a photograph, cartoon, or any kind of graphic. Show it to the student and ask them, what does it show? What do you think you might see it? For example, in a magazine with a text about something, this the person who made or took the image had a particular message. Then students work in group. The teacher asks them to discuss using the image in different ways. For example, if it was an image on the film poster, what is the name of the film? What is this about? It was a front cover of the book. What was the name of the book? What is this about? If it was an advertisement for a product or service, what would it be? And what advertising slogan would be on the advert? Afterwards, as an extra option, ask each group to think of one more new way to use the image. What would we see it? How would it be used? At the end, each group presents their ideas for the ways in which the image can be used. End the task by explaining that this exercise shows us how the meaning of an image or text can change according to the context. So when we read or hear an argument or opinion, it's important to understand its context. The next activity is called fact or opinion. It aims at helping students express opinion with reasons. Sometimes we read text or listen to people claiming to represent some kind of factual truth content. However, when this is the case, it is important to approach the text critically for information that pretends to be factual, when it is in fact the author or the speaker's opinion. By analyzing the text in this way, students can learn to identify opinion through the language used, and in turn, they will learn the language they need to express opinion in their own writing. In order to do this activity, the teacher takes between 6 or 8 sentences from a text which contain facts and author's opinion. Ideally, they would be from a text that you have already been reading in class, so the activity can form part of a longer reading lesson. For example, you can look at the sign and see a number of statements. Then student reads the sentences and decide which sentences are factual and which contain elements of the speaker's opinion. The teacher asks them to underline the keywords which indicate an opinion. This will be useful for the student to learn and use in their own writing in the future. Another interesting activity is called false conclusions. It can be used to evaluate the supporting evidence for a conclusion. When a text ends with the right conclusion or final opinion, it should be a result of a considered assessment of all arguments and evidence in the rest of the article. Students will also need to arrive at conclusion in a similar way. The following activity draws attention to conclusions which are not based on correct reasoning and acts as a useful leading to looking at conclusion in a longer text. To do this activity, first, the teacher writes one or all of the following sets of the 3 sentences on the board. Dogs have 4 legs. Cats have 4 legs. All cats are dogs. Oranges are the color orange. Your shirt is orange. Your shirt is an orange. Cars have an engine. Motorbikes have an engine. Motorbikes are cars. The teacher asks students what is wrong in the conclusion in each case. What mistake is the speaker making? Then, students are put into pairs or groups, and they have to write a similar set of 3 sentences with an incorrect conclusion. This should be a fun activity which allows students to use their imagination. Afterwards, they read aloud their full conclusions. These activities can be followed by a longer text with a conclusion at the end. Ask students to read the conclusion and say what it is. Then ask students to study the text and underline the supporting reasons or evidence for the conclusion. As a class, discuss if the conclusion is logical, based on arguments given. An activity that connects both writing and critical thinking is writing headlines. Here, students have to analyze the text for its essential meaning. After students have read or listened to a text, they need to analyze it for the main meaning. One way to do this is to encourage them to summarize the text in a few words. It is also a useful way to develop their note-taking skills. A fun way to do this is to have students to read and listen to short text from newspaper, radio, or TV news and write a headline. First, show students some headlines from different newspapers and news websites. For each, ask them to say what they think the news story was about. Afterwards, ask them to say what the purpose of the headline is. A possible answer may be to summarize the story and attract the reader's interest. Then, give out some short news stories and play 3 or 4 short recordings of different news items on radio. For each one, students try to write news headline, which summarize the meaning of the text. If you are playing recordings and then play them at least twice. After that, put students in groups and let them compare the headlines to see if they summarize similar information or use similar words from the text. So hopefully, you have some ideas of how to build up critical thinking for your students. Before I finish, I would like you to watch a short video about some simpler activities that you can use anytime in the class to make your students think critically and creatively. Thank you.
Creative thinking activities and exercises to recharge your brain. Take a short word, for example die. Now make a sentence using the letters of this word as the first letter of each word in a sentence. So in the given example, one could make a sentence, did you eat? Fun, isn't it? Time for some more creative exercises. Stay tuned.
Shapes and perceptions. Give each individual a picture that has some shapes drawn on it. They can be simple designs like a circle, hexagon, and more. Now, ask them to describe the shapes in ways that are different from the obvious. Like, describing a circle as a basketball or even the sun. The whole point of this exercise is to change the way we perceive things.
Unrelated relations. Divide the people into two groups and hand each group a couple of objects, say for example, a cherry and cake. Ask them to describe the objects. Like a cherry is red in color and the flavors of a cake can vary from chocolate to butterscotch. Next, ask the participants to relate the two objects to each other, like the cherry can be used as a topping on the cake. The groups must try to come up with endless possibilities to correlate and bring about a connection between the objects.
Creatively use me. This is a good activity to add a twist of creativity to daily life. Collect 5 items of different kinds like a cup, bag, bottle, piece of jewelry and folder. Ask the participants to list various uses for these objects, but creatively. For example, the cup can be used as a jewelry box or the folder can act as a coaster. Encourage them to come up with wacky and creative answers. It will be surprising to see the variety of answers that you get.
Wedded words. Give a random word to the participants and ask them to add words to the given word in order to make combinations that ideally go together. For example, take white. So, they can come up with white lie, whitewash, white elephant. This exercise is an ideal choice for stimulating your brain in a fun way.
Ask me anything. You can use questions like, how does one write with invisible ink? Or what does one do to grow a seedless watermelon? These are bound to set the creative juices flowing, and you may actually get possible solutions to some questions.
Opposites attract. Make a list of random words and ask participants to note down the first opposite word that comes to their mind in relation to these words. They must come up with at least 3 or 4 such antonyms. This exercise will make sure that people look beyond the obvious for the answers.
Against the rules, make a list of questions that would give you creative answers in an unusual manner. For example, list 4 items that you would not find typically in a Walmart store, or list 3 ways in which you can drink milk from the cup, without holding the cup in your hands. Unusual combinations and thinking in the reverse way often help one to come up with the desired, unconventional results.
Connecting the dots. Make groups of 4 people each and distribute a sheet of paper and pencils to the groups. The first person draws something on the sheet of paper, and passes it to the next person, who then adds to the drawing. You can make the activity more fun by setting a time limit of 5 seconds for each participant. After all the members of a group have finished their turns, ask them to describe the drawing in 3 words.
You can also create your own brainstorming activity. Such activities and exercises work as fun icebreakers when working in teams. At the same time, they are a great option to stimulate the brain and hone your creative abilities.
Liked these ideas? Now don't forget to leave your comments below, and do subscribe to our channel for many more such amazing videos.